Athletes from all over the world share a remarkable bond. No matter where they come from or which sports they dedicate themselves to, they are all driven by a powerful why. For most, it's not about fame or wealth. Only a rare few reach that level. Instead, they are fueled by a deep passion for their sport, a love for discipline, and an unending desire to push their own limits. From early mornings to grueling workouts and countless sacrifices, athletes are guided by an inner drive, a commitment to excellence that goes beyond personal gain. They don't just compete, they inspire, representing dedication, resilience, and an unbreakable spirit to be at their best. This is shared why connects them, creating a global community of individuals who break records, push boundaries, and show that greatness happens when passion meets purpose.
Hear it like something like
Yes. Yes, now I saw the notification.
okay.
This meeting is being recorded. Okay, let's go.
All right. Okay, so Sabine, thank you so much for taking the time for this interview. I saw your profile and I made some research on your journey. It's such an incredible story, and I think I would love for us to learn more about you and what you have been doing so far. So, for those who don't know you, I know some people know you very well because in the swimming world and in the Olympic world, that's for sure. But would you introduce yourself again?
Thanks for the invitation and so nice to see you. My name is Sabine Hazboun. I'm a Palestinian Olympic swimmer. I swam in different international events, including London 2012 Olympics, 5 World Championships, 2 Asian Games, Youth Olympic Games, and my favorite event would be 50 fly, I would say, but it wasn't in the Olympics in my time. It will be in LA 28.
50 fly. Oh, usually it's hundreds fly, right? Or
Exactly, but in LA it's going to be 50, they're including all the 50s. So it's my favorite event. You just 150, you breathe once and that's it. You're done.
that's madness. Okay, can you tell us a little bit about your background and where are you coming from?
Mhm. I am from Palestine. I grew up I'm born and raised in Bethlehem city. And growing in Bethlehem, I'd say it's a mix of beauty, struggle, and challenge. These are contradicting words, I know, because the reality there. So growing up in Bethlehem, I felt like I would say my sport or play, I wouldn't call it like workout or training at that age or that back then, but it felt like all I wanted to do as an escape from reality, I would say.
Mm.
Um, and growing up there, I mean, it's a place full of faith and history and community, and it's a small city with a lot of love and family and friends, and so it's a mix of everything, I would say. But for me, from a very early age, also thanks to my environment, my school, my family, my friends, that we appreciated or we understood how important play was.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I wouldn't say maybe my nieces now would say we call it a workout because I call it a workout, but or
Yeah.
practice. But back then I would say play was everything.
It was part of your daily life being into sports, right? That's what you mean. That's what you mean.
It's quite insane when you think about it because even in the hardest times, I mean, you grow up in a place that is full of restricted movement, full of checkpoints. Um, as an 8-year-old, I would see soldiers raiding my neighborhood, my city, um, being stopped going to on my way to practice at later when I joined the team. But it was always about, I want to play. I want to, for me, every time I jumped in the water or I felt I am underwater, I felt like the world quieted down for a little bit and calmed down. And it made me feel like free for a bit. But then later on, I took that play a bit too serious when I started dreaming about the Olympics. That's when I realized that actually It's not as easy as I thought. Or, of course, it's not easy, but it's not under my control. And there, when you feel a bit suffocated because you want to do everything possible, but it's not in your hands. It's not in your hands that the pools are closed or there's military checkpoint everywhere you go. So there you start thinking, what can I do? And resilience comes from there because you grow up with it.
Yes, that's very interesting, the starting point. But I really would like for people to, yeah, to know a little bit more who were the people from Palestine.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, history of Palestine nowadays is very, very known,
Yeah.
very well known. So, but in the eyes of a child growing up there, and you think is it's like sport not only became about just sport or I want to make it to the Olympics only for sport, but it's
Mm.
also to show the world, but also show myself that we can make waves, literally make waves, bigger waves and a bigger and a world stage, and we want to make it. So growing up in that very difficult times gave me a sense of willpower and resilience. And I will give you examples of resilience. So when we say, okay, we had back then when I started swimming, we had one pool that was only 18 meters length, and it was only open in summer.
Okay.
And then we had another pool, semi-Olympic pool, so 25 meters. Um, these were the only two pools that were approachable, or let's say I could reach with no military checkpoints. But then what happened to the other pool, the semi-Olympic indoor pool, it was closed when I was young for 4 years. So it was at peak of my training where I should train and improve when I was 13. It was closed. So that, I mean, it's quite it's quite frustrating to know that I don't have the opportunity to train. I don't have to. I'm watching people making it to the Olympics. I want to make it to the Olympics, but at the same time, I know that it's not under my control. Every time I need to check, I need to cross the checkpoints, separation wall, just to make it a practice. And then I said, okay, what can I do? So an example of that, I said, okay, the pool is closed. I'm gonna start running every day. And run, for example, from my place from my home to to the furthest possible, which was the separation wall, 2 kilometers away. So I would run 2 kilometers away, around, go back and forth at 5 a.m. in the morning as a 15-year-old girl. And then little by little, I told my team, let's do that on the weekends. And then the whole community started to, okay, let's run together. It seems
Amazing.
safe. It seems, yeah, so let's all do it together. But it's also vice versa. The reason why I felt empowered and I felt it was also thanks to my team,
Yeah.
from yeah, growing up. Another example is that okay, I can't swim. We found online a machine that is called the ergometer. So usually you find it at gyms, especially swimmers use it
Yeah.
as a dry land training. It's the one that you're horizontal, your body is horizontal like that, and you just paddle.
Yeah.
We purchased it, and I would just lie on it for an hour nonstop. I play. My cousin helped me to put some music together in one CD because back then I had my favorite CD, Taylor Swift songs, and I would put it for 1 hour and just paddle, paddle, paddle. Okay, okay, the pool is closed, but there is where resilience, you start saying, I want to grab every opportunity that's there because I want to make it to the Olympics no matter what. But
But
then
what was the idea from how old were you when you decided that I'm gonna make it to the Olympics? Like at what age did you realize or you felt that strong drive?
yeah. So from very little, I loved play, as I said, right?
Mhm.
And I fell in love with another sport, not swimming at the beginning. So my favorite sport, I would say, is gymnastics. I really wanted to be a gymnast, and
Mm.
even when my mom was doing homework with me, I remember, and if my mom is watching this, I hope she remembers, but
Mm.
for example, she would be helping me to do my homework, and then I remember once it was equations in math, and I was probably like 8, and I said, okay, between each equation, I want to do a cartwheel, and I would go do a cartwheel and go back, and I just wanted to play. So different sports that were available. We had a lot of good support from INGOs back then, like sport for development programs that were available. There was a federation that is called the Women Federation or the Women Organization. It was mixed, not only for women, but founded by women in Bethlehem, believe it or not. My mom was a member. She used to swim there. That's how I was introduced to swimming, thanks to her. And my dad loved basketball. Um, we didn't have any like basketball courts or anything. It's just a net. That's all you need. So
Mhm.
so they introduced me to sport little by little, and then I joined the swim team when I was 9,
Okay.
and I loved it. My first national gold medal, it was in 50 breaststroke, and I will never forget that day because um, I wasn't I was sure that I was gonna get second or in I used to always get second
Mhm.
because I looked up to the other swimmer. I really looked up to her. I admired her because she started swimming before me and she used to win. But that day, one of my teammates came to me and she said, "Imagine a 10-year-old and an 11-year-old, right? Having that discussion." And I'm sitting there in the call room, but we like
Wait,
just lining up.
yes.
And uh and my swim mate told me, "You're gonna win." And I said, "What do you mean? No, the other girl is gonna win. I know it. Like I'm okay with that. I will accept it." She's like, "No, no, you will win. You will win. You'll see. Just believe in yourself. I believe in you." You know, an 11-year-old telling me this.
Oh,
And I'm 10. And then I swam as a 10-year-old, 45 seconds, I think, 50 breaststroke. And I got the medal. And then I wanted more, and I became obsessed with my timing. This
mm,
is something that every swimmer I speak to, they say that they didn't experience this, but I'm very hopeful that one day I will find someone that experienced this. That I became really obsessed with my times. That every time I finish, I want to know, I want to become better. Then everything changed when when I turned 13. To
mm.
answer your question, that's when I made the team to participate in my first World Championships at the age of 13.
Wow.
So I saw Teresa Alshamar, I saw all the famous swimmers back then, and I understood that how they practice. I spoke to a few of them, and I understood that, World Championships, you can qualify for the Olympics and how it works. And I learned all about that. I went back and I told my family my life is going to change. I really want to focus on that, and I want to make it to the Olympics. That was crystal clear to me.
Mr. Korea. Wow. Amazing. So that's what you explained, that despite the challenges, your North Star was making it to the Olympics, and what kind of opportunities did you try to develop, and when was the moment that you had to leave home?
Mhm. It was a very, very hard time because you're in a place that is under foreign occupation.
Mm,
You're in a place that has unpredictable, your life, your everyday life can become unpredictable.
mm,
But at the same time, you have an Olympic dream and you see on TV, on social media, you see that everyone is making it, everyone can practice or they have like 7 hours a day is an average for an Olympic swimmer, and you want to do that, but
mm,
you're facing a greater challenge of unpredictable life every single day. You see, I mean, as an 8-year-old, to run through tear gas bombs, to see bombs at a very near distance, to see soldiers raiding, and that to be stopped as an underage on your way to practice. But then at the same time, you say, no, but you grow up with these sport values all your life.
mm,
This love and respect from your team and your parents and your family and everyone, all the moral support, and even in school, I remember one of my classmates telling the teacher, "Hey, Sabine told us about the Olympics. The Olympics is every 4 years, but school is every year. So the Olympics is more important." A girl, a 14-year-old girl telling the teacher about me that we believe in Sabine, we want her, we want to see her, and all that support. But then you realize, oh, it's what can I do?
mm.
Um, then when I was 16, everything changed. I received a scholarship from the International Olympic Committee, the Olympic Solidarity, and I will never forget that day because A random day, I'm doing my homework after school and I get a call. It was February 2011, and I get a call for a meeting right away. Like, can you come? There's a meeting with some foreign people that want to talk to you. And said, sure. And then I went and they told me, do you want to leave and to go to Barcelona to an Olympic training center? We'll provide you with everything you need to make it to the Olympics. I said, wow, of course, of course. But I didn't want to leave because I love home, my family, my friends, everything I grew up with, everything that shaped my life is there. My school, everything is there. And I said, but I have to leave if I want a better opportunity. I can't stay there. I want to stay there. I said, okay, I will go, but I really, really hope that I'm the last person to go or to have to leave for a better opportunity in general, in sports, in arts, in hobbies, in education. I really hope for the next generation to have it there. Why do we have to sacrifice, you know? Because if you leave your home, there's always something missing. Always anywhere you go. And even if you spend a lot of time somewhere else and then you go back, there's also always something missing because you built a home otherwise. So home for me became everywhere, but nowhere at the same time. And I
Yeah.
said, of course I will go. It's everything I want in life. I want to make it to the Olympics. And then it changed because a few months later I was in Spain. I was in a
Mm.
whole different situation.
How old were you when you arrived in Spain? And what was the situation then?
It was right after my 17th birthday and the Shanghai 2011 World Championships. So I
Mhm.
packed my luggage, one luggage, and I went to World Championships to China, and then from China to Spain. And that was a that was the beginning of, well, the end of the beginning. Call it whatever you want, because uh, when you leave home from anywhere, but especially from that place, from Palestine, you need some time to adjust. You need some time to learn a new language, culture, to integrate, to maybe sign up for these programs of integration in a new country. I didn't
Mhm.
have any of that because I had 1 year. I didn't have time to process anything.
Language did you speak when you left Palestine?
I'm sorry, I.
Which language did you speak when you left
Yeah, of
Palestine?
course. I spoke, of course, Arabic is my native language, the Palestinian dialect, and English was my second language. We took French in Bethlehem as a third language. So I left with Arabic, English, and very, very basic French. Um,
Mm,
I had no idea. I didn't speak any Spanish.
Spanish.
In 1 year, I became fluent in Spanish, but because no one spoke to me in English, they told me, and that was very, very good of them. So I arrived at the Olympic Training Center, it's called CAR in Barcelona. Um, and they told me, here's your pool, here's your coach, here's everything you need. And all of a sudden, I'm coming from with a lot of difficult background. This is my dream, and I find myself alone as a 17-year-old there with the full support tools that I needed to grow as an athlete. And there was no time to process anything. I went from 4 to 7 hours of daily training there.
Wow.
So, because in Palestine, it was, I would say, twice a week. That was whenever we could afford it.
Yeah.
So 7 hours of training a day, no time to process anything. I had 1 year to make it to the Olympics. The following year was World Championships as well. Long course, so it's a very important one. It happened in Barcelona, and finish high school in Spanish, in a new language. So it was nonstop. I didn't have any moment to to unload any mo the whole. I remember being maybe up to 4 months indoor because our everything was so in the Olympic Training Center we had everything, which is amazing. We had nutritionists, everything we needed.
Bubble.
But I spent zero times to unload because I had no time. I had to manage school, learn the language, graduate in school, make it to the university in a new language as well, and qualify for the Olympics, all in a couple of years.
Yeah. How did you maintain that level of excellency? Where did you find the resources to keep going on?
Well, all the resources I had all the resources needed from thanks again to the Olympic Training Center, to the service in the Olympic Training Center, to the Olympic Solidarity, and everyone did their best. But in the end, it was such super obstacles when you're coming as a 17-year-old to a whole different, and you didn't have any time to process your childhood or anything that happened back home. Didn't have time to stop. And I became obsessed with my practice, with my performance, because this is all I wanted. All I wanted. And then I looked at, I was the best swimmer in Palestine, the highest ranking. That's why I got a scholarship. But
Yeah.
then at the same time, I'm the worst in an Olympic training center in Spain. You have the world champions there. So going that shift from being the best in your country, all the moral support that you need from an amazing team, amazing coaches, amazing parents, amazing siblings, everything to you're alone. They told me we don't believe in you. Other swimmers told me we don't believe in you. Coaches telling me we don't believe you can make it to the Olympics. You don't belong here. And all I needed was to fit in. And I fit in. The first 6 months, I fitted. I made many friends and would hang out with all the gymnasts and divers. And, it's an amazing place that you can get to know other sports and learn about others. But you're
Found a kind of ecosystem that was quite tough, let's say, for high performance. Or
Everyone is fighting for a place in the Olympics, for a
mm,
spot to go to the Olympics. And you become obsessed. You want to do like perform like the others and you have no time. And, also my scholarship depended on my performance. So this is something that I had a huge weight on my shoulder because if I didn't perform well, I would go back home. I would lose my dream. So everything depended on swimming. So just to make it clear, my whole life, my whole day, everything I did, what felt like a mission for Palestine. So Barcelona gave me the amazing tools to grow as an athlete, but Palestine gave me everything, the willpower, the existence, the everything I needed to grow as a person.
and finally you've made it to the Olympics, but was that worthy? Because I know from as an athlete the amounts of hours we spent training hard. I had an interview with another swimmer. She explained all the challenges that she had with her health, and as women, I know you, taking care of our health when we are high performer is quite tough. Did you also find some challenges with that?
Probably it was already in my second year at the Olympic Training Center where um, I I struggled with that, of course, because you're told, you are here to become better and to be perform better and on the weekends I was alone because let's say other national athletes can go home. So for me, I didn't distract. I didn't unload. It was the stressful environment 24/7. I'm there. Um, and but don't get me wrong, because they gave me everything that I need, all the support I needed. They did the best they could, which is amazing. I have an amazing relationship with the center. It's my second home. Believe it or not, it's my second home. But at
I
the same
know.
time, of course, at the same time, it's really hard because I became obsessed and that I ended up with an eating disorder because you
Oh,
you really want to be the best. And when you're told as a swimmer, the lighter you are, the faster you go. There's no
mm.
limits. There's no limits.
Can you, if you feel comfortable with that, describe what was that eating disorder and how did it start it? I think it's a very critical conversation also for younger talents who want to be at the best level, and who get themselves trapped into that.
Of course. For if there's any young athlete, and I really hope young athletes are listening to this, because to anything, the key message is to have a holistic approach. It's not just I'm lighter and faster. That doesn't make sense. So what I wish back then, which I loved learning about nutrition, but I didn't know enough. So in that, what I mean is that I didn't know how much stress can be can affect your training, can impact everything you do. So it's not 7 hours a day of practice and then that's it. It's 24 hours, 24/7. Everything you do will affect your training. So if you say, no, I'm gonna finish practice, and since I don't have a second practice today, there's no need to eat. Excuse me. If this is the first thing you need to balance,
You would not eat.
at times, at the end, I would try to skip some meals. But I knew that, or when I knew that it was something wrong. So I was simply told, or the way it started, that I was told, if you're lighter, you're faster. If you lose like 2 kilos, maybe you can swim better. But the biggest mistake that I was told by nutritional doctors, for example, is that when I lost that 1 or 2, and as women, we have our menstruation cycle, doesn't mean that we're gonna weigh exactly the same every month. So there might be 1 or 2 or 3, up to 4 kilograms different in the same month. Water, stress, everything. And so when I lost like just a couple of kilograms, because I was training, I was taking care of myself, it was very healthy. They told me, good, now you can lose more. But I couldn't lose more because this is what my body was. It was perfect the way it is. I think that's the body shape that I needed, the strength that I needed.
Because
Um,
you really did your best, right? You did your best. You were not overweight.
no,
So
so I wouldn't say no. I was never overweight as a person or underweight, because I never how do you say, like, played with it. Like, I never changed my diet. I ate what I needed from a very young age. I was raised in a perfect way to have a good balance until I
mm,
went to until I started being obsessed about dreaming or going to the Olympic training center. To train in Olympic training center, make it to the Olympics. So it was always a nice balance. You're hungry, you eat this. Don't prohibit yourself from anything. But then once you start switching that, once you start, uh, your relationship with food, it just becomes every, everything and nothing. And it took me 10 years to understand. And
yeah.
to give you an example, I met a young male endurance athlete. Male, female, could happen to anyone, of course. We see it even more in females. But he told me, I have the best nutritionist in the world, and she told me not to eat bread. I can't eat bread. I'm sorry. So now the way he sees bread is like the unreachable. No, it is not how it is. And something to really understand is the food is one thing and the stress is everything. Whenever you're stressed, our adrenal glands are working so much, so much, so hard to produce cortisol, which is good. It's very good to have cortisol in the body in the morning because we need energy. But then if you have that excessive level at night, it impacts your sleep. You're fatigued because your glands are working so hard to keep producing cortisol and excessive levels. That's not good for the body. So do you understand that? Are you stressed? And the same for coaches. The another message for coaches is take everything in a holistic approach. Your athlete is a person, is a human. It's not a machine. So you see many coaches nowadays saying, Monday or every Monday, my athletes should perform the best they can because they had time to relax on the weekend. Seriously? But maybe it's the opposite. Maybe they need a slow comeback to because they weren't training for a couple of days.
Yeah.
So switch these approaches, understand the person as a whole, and
Mm,
then you'll find your balance. And I'm happy to say that 10 years later, my balance has never been better.
mm. Yes, there is always a distance between high level sports and the how strict it can be. We always believe that the harder you train, the better it is, and it's still today the same narrative. And so, but you went to the Olympics in London. Were you happy about that? Can you describe that moment, that feeling?
Mhm.
Uh, Stepping into the Olympics for your country, Palestine?
I just had a flashback of my race. I love that. So before that, before leading up to the Olympics, I did a lot of visualization work with a sports psychologist. I
Mm-hmm.
wish I had done more mental work, of course. That's what I needed back then, but um, didn't have that afforded. So I had a lot of work with a sports psychologist to visualize my race. So being there felt familiar. I knew everything. I saw myself. I had seen myself competing in the Olympics before the Olympics because I worked on it for many months ahead of the race. And there, I was only 18. And again, I was really obsessed with becoming the um,
Everybody at home looking at you and cheering for
Yes,
you.
I didn't think of that. I only knew after my race that, many people were watching me from back home, my whole team from home, and but I was obsessed with breaking my national record. I did, and I called my parents right away. And I remember my dad saying, "You crazy!" Like as in, because I was never like obliged, or my parents were never like strict. Oh, you have to do. No, you have to perform cool. They everything you do whatever you want. And it's like, you're crazy. We love that. That's so good. And I missed home so much that I didn't stay in the Olympic Village. I went home the day after because I feel stupid saying that 10 years later. But I was like, I really missed home and I was like, oh, it's fine. I visited London the same day. I had around seven interviews the same day after the race the whole day and I wasn't equipped. I wasn't like I didn't know how that could be. I felt like my voice was higher and I felt I still, you know what? That's crazy because I felt a heavier weight on my shoulders because I'm representing a nation, a people, an oppressed people. I'm raising their voice. I'm speaking, I'm doing everything for my nation. And at 18, I understood that better. I said, wow, I am an athlete, I'm an Olympian, and I have a voice. Whether you want it or not, I felt like um, we're born in a mission. We don't choose it. Where you're born with resilience and a mission to represent in the best way you can.
Yes. Mm. So you went home, and what happened afterwards? Because when was the moment that your career had to end up, and was that something that you decided yourself?
When I went home, I fell in depression. No, it's the typical post-Olympics that you speak of because when I went home, interesting story. I wasn't sure that I was gonna go back to Spain, which I did in the end, but I was waiting for my scholarship to be renewed. So that took 6 months. So in these 6 months, I finished 11th grade in Palestine before I left to Spain, right? I had the 12th grade left instead of 12th grade. So I took that year to learn Spanish, to handle everything, to qualify for the Olympics. The following year, I graduated in from high school there. But before that, I wasn't sure if I was going to go back. So I went back. Okay, now what? I made it to the Olympics. I am home. I remember going to the gym a week after the Olympics, I was at the gym and I overheard someone. They don't know that someone at the gym. I don't know them, but I heard people looking at me and talking. They didn't know that I was listening. And they said, "Isn't that girl who left everything just to go to the Olympics?" Oh wow, like, and like as in not a proud moment. And I looked there and I felt ashamed. As an 18-year-old, I couldn't just go there and tell her, "Well, I made it to the Olympics. What do you mean?" But 7 years later, I went back to the same gym. I saw the same person. And I remembered, I didn't know her, but I remember that it was the same person that I overheard saying. And she approached me and she said, hey, you went to the Olympics. And I said, yeah, yeah. And how's your studies? I said, well, now I speak 6 languages with a master's. I finished my bachelor's and I'm seeking another degree and another certification. What about swimming? And there I realized that, never take advice, never listen to someone that doesn't know you or you don't know them.
it was very interesting what you shared about the way you have adapted to changes from your childhood and how you have taken every opportunities to follow your North Star, to be an Olympian and to make it to the Olympics. And then you went on with your study and reaching highest levels, higher level of goals. I find it's very interesting that you also shared like the balance between staying healthy physically and mentally and not just run at all costs, to make it at all costs. And so now that you have stepped from sports, what are the key lessons that you have learned from that and that you could share to younger talents, maybe who are also from Palestine and who are dreaming about making it to the Olympics or any other places on earth?
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for this question. To me, it was because all my life I was almost never in any comfort zone. So I didn't know a comfort zone. My life was unpredictable. We lived day by day. This is how we were raised. We lived day by day. And right now, whenever in any stressful moment, I remember that. I remember what are my today tasks if I'm overwhelmed in a very Western thinking, just go, go, go. I remember what's my task for today. And I learned to adapt because this is a human nature, to adapt to everything and every change. This is a willpower, this is a superpower that every human being has. From the moment that we start walking, it's you go from crawling to walking, that's as humans. And what I always say is to any human, but not only athletes, to any person, not only athletes, I mean as non-athletes as well, whenever we get stressed and overwhelmed, think moment by moment. So what's in my control? What can I do today? I woke up, I want to be a better person than yesterday. What can I do today? Because in times it becomes very stressful, especially in today's world where I cannot control everything. So I control what I can and say, what can I do today to be better than yesterday? And sometimes it's very common nowadays to say, what would you tell your younger self? Well, I want to have a call with my younger self to learn from her and tell her, hey, where's your willpower? Come on, I need it now today.
Yes.
But of course, it has a toll on your mental health when you gave everything at such a young age with no break, with no mental break for over 15 years. So fast forward to now at 31 years old, it's the first time that I feel I can afford a balance. I see everything. I see the bigger picture. I zoomed out. I see it all as a holistic. I have a holistic approach to life, to my, you know, um, so for younger athletes, well, I learn a lot from the active athletes. I really admire every Palestinian athlete that has the willpower in today's world. The reality is much harder than I had it so hard, and right now it's even harder. So I want to have a call with them and say, I don't have anything. I admire you. But keep fighting. I mean, of course, keep your willpower. Raise your voice, raise your heads, and just know that something that Palestine taught us was never lose hope, even in the hardest times. There's always a way. So when I say I didn't have a pool and I started running to the first checkpoint, which is 2 kilometers away and back, that's something. Seeking every opportunity that is there and have a holistic approach, especially for that's a message to the coaches to understand the athletes as humans. And for athletes also it's very good to have something else in your life other than sports, to active athletes, of course. Because whenever you are not getting your PB, your personal best in sports, you can look forward to something else, whether it's your studies and another hobby. Hobby. I mean, which Olympic athlete can have a hobby? I mean, education, something else.
That is, it's hard to tie something else to your passion, and it's an important message to find that something else that is not only studies but something else, right? That's what you mean.
Yes, something else that you can look forward to. So when I retired, I did think of all of the identity crisis of, oh, if I'm not a swimmer, who am I? The typical thing. I didn't know that I thought this until I learned what it is. And then I said, oh, I felt that too, because back then, 10 years ago, no one spoke about this, right? And now you see all these tools, all these career plus opportunities. A good example is like Athlete 365 from IUC does a lot of career transition opportunities that I learned a lot from. And it helped me to cope with a lot of things that I didn't think of, didn't know that I also went through, and started, finding different hobbies that I can do. And right now, my newest hobby is to learn how to dive, like from a platform, like jump in the water. Uh,
Wow.
so it's to me, it's I mean, being able to just learn and be a very beginner in that sports it's a dream. It's really a dream because I grew up watching that, didn't have that opportunity, and it's in the water. It's a mix between something I loved, which is gymnastics, and water, and now I'm learning. And this is also a message also to that you can always start a new sport. It doesn't
Mm.
have to be it doesn't have to be only the gym, because now you hear, oh, the gym is boring. Maybe you can find your own activity or sport or new initiative or something that you can try. Because for example, when I started learning how to dive, I told my grandma, and she said, "Isn't that for kids?" I said, like, aren't you supposed to, work and that's it, like work or maybe gym to maintain fit? I said, but I can work and I can balance this with a new hobby. It doesn't have to like
Yeah.
work or start a new hobby. I can do both, if you're free after 6 p.m.,
So beautiful
you can
to
do
say.
whatever you want.
Yeah, that's an amazing message. Like you, this is for the athletes who people who do a work and then they go to the gym and then they think, okay, that's it. I'm doing something. But what you sharing is that you can just find an hobby, something that makes you thrill and makes you happy.
And my biggest highlight was I met Tom Daly, and I'm a big fan. So, and I told him that I started
The
diving.
Olympic champion.
Yes, Great
Amazing.
Britain. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much, Sabine. It was really interesting, inspiring, uplifting, your message for hope and also your strength, your spirit. It's just wonderful, and I'm sure there's going to be more athletes coming up like yourself.
Thank you for tuning into Olympians Diary, where we dive deep in the minds of Olympians and uncover the stories, the struggles, and triumphs behind the world's most dedicated athletes. Stay tuned as we continue our journey into the hearts and minds of those who've reached the pinnacle of their sport. You won't want to miss the incredible insights and lessons we have ahead. This podcast was made possible by Jewelbox, the music production studio that keeps our sound on point.